Shehada. He's a visiting fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations and joins us live from Copenhagen. Thank you for being with us on the program, Mohammed. As our correspondent mentioned, Israel has already violated phase one of the ceasefire deal. Do you think they will be committed to phase two, given what we've seen happen so far?
Thanks so much, Ifnan, for having me. Absolutely not. You have Israel having spent 24 months turning Gaza into dust and ash. They spent over $100 billion on this genocide and lost and sacrificed over 900 soldiers. They're not just going to give up easily on the idea of ethnic cleansing and even rebuilding settlements, at least in the very north of Gaza. So you see Netanyahu, for example, when it comes to phase two of the ceasefire, he's doing everything possible to make it impossible, impractical, unrealistic to implement anything moving forward. For example, there was supposed to be this police force that has been trained in Egypt and Jordan that was supposed to come into Gaza and take over the security sector from Hamas. Netanyahu vetoed it outright. He rejected the entry of a single member of those 5,500 policemen. It's the same with the ISF. They were supposed to be there, this international force, to protect Palestinians, to enforce the ceasefire, to buffer between Gaza and Israel. Then Netanyahu vetoed countries like Turkey and Qatar from participating, and he came up with insistence on demanding that ISF would use violence against Palestinians, would become a subcontractor of the IDF, of the Israeli occupation force, which made every single country on the face of the planet unwilling to participate to ISF. Then Netanyahu can point a finger and say, look, ISF is not moving forward. I have to stay in Gaza indefinitely.
I want to talk about the Rafah border crossing because it's, of course, a very important border crossing for Palestinians in Gaza. It's the only crossing that connects Palestinians in Gaza to the outer world. And there are concerns that the limitations being put by Israel to only allow people out of Gaza through that border crossing is going to lead to ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Trump deal stipulated very explicitly that the Rafah crossing would be open both ways, that Gazans stuck in Egypt and beyond would be allowed back. I was just in Cairo a couple of weeks ago. I met dozens of Gazans who are desperate to go back to their families, to reunite, to check on their homes, etc. And you have Netanyahu, having procrastinated the opening of the Rafah crossing for over 2 months, suddenly deciding it will open, but only one way, to ethnically cleanse Gaza. But there is a deeper sadistic level to this. Ever since the ceasefire started, Israel has only allowed 1,700 people out of Gaza. So there is all this talk about that they want the population to move out. They want voluntary migration, while at the same time making it impossible for people to come out in the first place. It is this sadistic, prolonged torture that is there in place to break down the will of people. So Israel believes that this voluntary migration, what is so-called voluntary, there's nothing voluntary about it, but they believe it would be too slow. So they want to keep the torture up on the entire population so that you would have a mass amount of Gazans fleeing to the Egyptian borders, breaking down the fence and crossing en masse, which is the only realistic option for Israel to depopulate Gaza at once.
For being with us here on the News Hour and sharing that analysis with us.